This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing. Runway 7, Bravo. All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. Then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Woo-wee! The story status are different, but everything else stays the same. So let's get to it. Story number 1. Are tax-funded radio ads for politicians, local politicians, touting their work, a big deal, big question. Paul Sracich, a Youngstown State University political science professor, I hope I said it right, Sracich, has gone on the record citing how primetime candidates are using tax dollars indirectly to campaign. Now, the article states that there is a ton of unfair advantages for incumbents when it comes to this. Now, this continued circulation of campaign tactics are what got this story in. Tim Ryan, Dave Joyce, and Congressman Bill Johnson's campaign spending were all mentioned in the article. Story number 2. How much is the electric tractor idea worth? Big headline. The ups and downs continue at Foxconn and Lordstown Motors, but now the hype is around Foxconn's Monarch tractor, which is a big deal to them. Now, the presentation is offering a combination of innovation and technology with a combination of also quality and precision when it comes to manufacturing. Now, at the moment, Foxconn is touting the sale of 150,000 plus units sold. Now, the plan at the moment is to build 250,000 that's what they call pair vehicles per year, according to a local article. That's what they call the vehicle, the pair vehicle. Now, at the moment, the idea is worth $60,000 to $70,000 before subsidy. Story number 3. Local energy stories are still in the headlines. Trumbull Energy Center has been granted a time extension, according to a local Vindicator article, to start construction on Trumbull Energy Center. The $1.2 billion natural gas-fired plant would become number 2 in the village. Delays are what got this story in. Support for the project is also in question. One local article points out how the project received support from economic development and political officials, but received pushback from village officials. Now, the local article also points out the large amount of opposition that's still ahead for the project. Story number 4. Dissecting the ARP funds. ARP spending, American Rescue Plan spending, continues to make waves as Youngstown City Council on Wednesday approved a $684,685 in American Rescue Plan's fund projects out of the $14 million to be spent by local wards. So they approved the $684,685. That's how much they're approving in the American Rescue Fund projects out of the $14 million to be spent by local wards, by local precincts, however you want to pronounce that. Now the challenge is rationing out the money and getting the contracts in place to execute when it comes to utilization of the funds, especially when you have to sign contracts with people to get the work done, to spend the money. Now, the fact that there's a time limit on spending is what got this story in. You have about 2 years, I believe, to spend all this money. Council members and local ward heads are doing their best to explain the entire process. Story number 5. Local COVID-19 cases are falling. What does that mean? The COVID COVID-19 roller coaster ride continues, folks. About a week ago, COVID cases were on the upswing. Now they're falling again. This time it's for the second week in a row. Cases have decreased 7.8%. Hospitalizations have also decreased. This is good news in the COVID-19 battle. That is still a topic of discussion on what worked and what didn't work, or what is still working and what still isn't working. Story number 6. A local sexting brings up an important and needed discussion about sex and what men and women are doing to get it, to get sex. This all has to do with the online market, folks. The freaks come out online. The freaks come out. The freaks come out online. The freaks come out online. We all got some freakiness in us, baby. And it comes out online. I mean, all the juices, oils, everything. Blah, 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 juggling, everything online. Twerking and everything. After 17 men got busted in a sexting, once again, the discussion about sex is in the news, folks. How and why men with jobs and resources got caught up in a sexting and human trafficking operation remains a mystery. But at the moment, they're all being charged with various offenses after answering advertisements on websites which promoted them to arrange sex with minors, which is very scary. Now, this story brings up something that we all battle with, and if we're saying we don't, we're lying. You're lying. Everybody battles with something about sex. You have to keep the beast contained, or you have to feed them something. Now, at this time, we're all battling with some desires to have and engage in sexual activity. These are facts. Now, the online habits that provide an outlet for many who choose to practice safe sex or celibacy, these habits can also serve as a trap for sex traffickers and trafficking. That means you can get caught up in some stuff by just trying to contain the sexual beast. I'm being real. Everybody battles with this stuff. Now, this is a story that needs a lot of attention because it can happen to anyone trying to feed that sexual beast. Nobody is immune from online traps, folks. But human trafficking and underage prostitution rings is what got this story in and what has it still trending, keeping it alive. Now, this story serves as the breaking point for anyone needing help when dealing with the natural craving for sex and love that we all possess. Now, a topic of discussion in which was happening was keeping this story in the news, and the topic of discussion of the fact that we all may be guilty of something when it comes to sex, fornication, all types of fantasies. This is the stuff that goes on through our minds. Folks, even nuns and priests battle with sexual problems. This is a fact. That's why story number 6 made it this week. Big headline. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Whew, folks, I've got one thing to say. And that sometimes I don't know the answer to everything. I really don't. So if I make a mistake while navigating through these stories, please forgive me. But I'm shaking my 8-ball trying to get to that top story just for you, to keep you informed. Folks, every week the template remains the same, but the stories change. And I've got to change for you to tell you the stories, folks. So let's get to the top 2 stories that made it this week. Whew. Top 2 stories. Story number 7. A 6-year-old becomes another child victim in a local shooting. After a 6-year-old was shot while at home, now Youngstown City Council members are back to the drawing board, revamping an old McDonald's building to be a substation with some ARP funds is just one of the solutions being proposed, with one opposition vote by 3rd Ward Council member Samantha Turner. So far, the shooting is under investigation, with officials believing that it was a targeted incident. But overall, city council members and justice officials are back to the drawing board. Story number 8 in the top. Lucky number 8 ball story that made it this week. Local story. Whew, if I could do one thing, I could do this. All my life, pushed in a corner, accused of things, verbally abused, mentally abused. but I keep getting up and rising up. I rise today to tell you the top 8 stories. Let's get to this top story, folks. I'm rising up to tell you the top story. Story number 8. The Ohio job market is heating up, and that deserves a top story. Recent headlines about economic activity shows that the money is being allocated for a hot Ohio job market, folks. 7,000 construction workers requested to build a facility that will employ 3,000 people for Intel for an average salary of about $135,000. That's big. Local ARP money also has construction employment up locally, and with Lordstown continued business expansion, the local job market remains in top headlines. Once again, all these plans are being carried out in Ohio. I have to repeat that, especially in the race to compete in the global tech arena for semiconductors and electric vehicles. This is all happening in the state of Ohio. This story could be a game changer for the local workforce and innovation when it comes to that sector, folks. So that's why Story number 8 made it to the top this week, because of jobs. We need jobs. Got to pay the bills. Got to have money to pay the bills. And got to have money to pay child support. Got to have money to buy things. Got to have money to buy clothes. Got to have money to pay for school. Got to have money for just about everything for your funeral. You got to have life insurance. All that stuff has to do with money. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. You're in the media with me, Brother West. I'm right back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, when I came back to Ohio years ago from the state of Virginia, I had noticed that there was some different things to look out for, especially when you've been out to sea for so long. You come back, and you're in the hospital, you come back into the real world, and what I noticed is that not much had changed. Well, actually, a lot had changed, but when it comes to certain things like people trying to get ahead, not much had changed. So what I noticed was there was this guy. He would do the same thing every day. I mean, when I left, this guy would get up in the morning, be on the porch. He would do the same thing every day, read the paper. So when I got home, come to find out, the guy was still doing the same thing every day. Every day. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I seen it when I left. This was probably in 2000. Came back, the guy was still doing the same thing every day. And there are some people like myself. Every week, I'm reading through story after story every day to give you a top headline and developing news story. That's called consistency. And once that consistency is broken, I get conflicted, upset, bewildered, outraged. I mean, sometimes I have to commit myself. I have to keep pushing on to stay consistent. I mean, I know some stuff gets outdated. Some people get tired of seeing my face. But I'm doing it for the greater good, for consistent top 8 headlines to show you that it can be done every day. I'm like a groundhog, baby. Whoo! I only come out on Sundays. Ooh, yeah, to give the top 8 stories. Oh, I'm like a reverend in the pulpit. I have to preach the gospel of mediation. Oh, there's a blessing in mediation. Don't you feel it? Whoo-wee. Well, folks, let's waste no time. As you can see, the same thing every day can turn out to be a good thing. I'm content, baby. I'm content. I'm not wealthy. I'm not rich. But I feel good giving you the top 8 every week. And this is all I have left to do, folks. So let's get to it. Yeah, let's get to it. Story number 1. Story number 1. Oh, yeah. People who live by the rules are speaking out on several issues. This story made it in because the growing concern about fairness is in the headlines. First, it's the immigration issue and how migrants are being treated compared to veterans and other hard-working, law-abiding citizens. Several other issues are also making headlines when it comes to those who do things the right way compared to those who break the rules. Such stories are about medical marijuana and toxic habits that people just can't seem to break compared to the other hardworking Americans also have this story trending. Foreign aid also has this story making news. Many will say that why spend money on a war while the American people continue to struggle? Spend that money on the American people, but when you spend it on the American people, they just act like they don't want it, some don't want to work. So these are the factors that got this story in. That's why story number one crept in this week. I'm sure you get the message. Whew. Big headline. Story number two. What's up with the floods and the droughts? What do we know? Europe reports its worst drought in 500 years. Flooding has been reported in multiple headlines in states across the globe, especially in the United States, including Kentucky and Texas. Many are still waving the climate change flag, but actually, alarming weather trends have been taking place for centuries, since the beginning of time, since we've been recording them, and could be impossible to pinpoint. Who knows? Now, there are lingering stories out there relating advancements in science and technology to global climate problems, but the reality is that the world has always faced alarming weather trends. This story is still developing because nature has an odd way of staying balanced. Story number three. Student loan stories are in top headlines again. The Biden administration has once again ruffled some feathers, but this time it's in the student loan arena, especially for those who are paying, who have already paid. The president has proposed a plan to forgive $10,000 in certain brackets of student loan debt victims. Now, if and how this will take effect is becoming a top debate. It's becoming debatable. It's becoming a debated issue because, once again, fairness is the top concern. Now, the main talking point is, how do you forgive some debts yet not refund those who've already followed the rules and paid? Story number four. Outbreaks are a nightmare for the medical industry. Now it's the spread of monkeypox. A new case of the Ebola virus has also been confirmed by the Democratic Republic of Congo. COVID-19 and other variants are also still lingering around as medical professionals turn to vaccinations for the answers. Now, either way you look at it, this story, outbreaks have proven to be a nightmare for the medical industry, with a lot of medical professionals throwing in the towel and leaving the industry. Exhaustion and continued unwon battles faced when fighting invisible enemies is still keeping this story is what's keeping these stories alive, actually. Now, the toughest challenge at the moment is the learning curve when getting the public to comply with medical procedures. Now, and also getting people to practice good health habits. That's what's all at stake in story number four. That's why I made it this week, folks. Well, those are our top four international headlines and developing news stories that made it. I'll be right back with the top four, so don't you go anywhere. You're in the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website as well. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top four international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, I have to share this with you because I'm starting to learn every day that you learn something new. I mean, every day you learn something new. I can never know enough in doing this show, and that's why I have to share these with you, because even when I think I know some things, I don't know, but I try to be as accurate as possible. But this concept of free is a very interesting concept, because what I'm learning is that when somebody offers something for free, eventually people have to pay for something. For years, I've offered services for free. I've been criticized, called the nice guy in certain situations. But in the end, I've ended up having to pay, and I've had to let people off. I learned a valuable lesson coming up of the free. And what that lesson is this week is that when you say no after giving a service away for so long, you'll learn this in business and in life, that one no after 1,000 yeses could unleash a world war. So this week, folks, being the mediator, I've learned to say no. And we're going to have a moment of silence to show you that no does something in the silent realm. It creates noise. So I'm going to say it. No. Don't you feel how pissed you're becoming? How upset? How you've been getting a service for that long, for free? That's why it's important that people appreciate my time, appreciate me for doing this, just trying to use the TV as a good tool for you to learn something, stay informed. That's a win-win situation provided by me, the mediator. And if I say no, if I decide to sit at home, do something unconstructive, eat some popcorn with a lot of butter on it, get fat, sloppy, and lazy, and not do this, I could be depriving you of something that you need. And that's a yes, baby. Woo-wee! A yes to mediation. Don't you feel good seeing me come in here giving you a yes? But if I say no, you better watch out. But let's pray that I can always pay the bills by saying yes. So if you do something, support me. Give me a blessing. Click on something, go to the website, do something to show me some support. Stop in the store, say hi, buy something, because that's what keeps the bills paid, so I can always say yes, baby. Woo. Let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Police are still making headlines, folks. An off-duty Chicago police officer is being charged with kneeling on a teen. That's bad news. Now, the 14-year-old was wrongfully accused of stealing a bike and was restrained by an off-duty police officer who was videotaped kneeling on the teen. Now, the story adds to a long list of negative policing stories being reported on police interactions with the public. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Big headline. Story number 6. Russia's war is causing a huge ripple effect across the world. Folks, trading is taking a hit. The international markets are taking a hit, and migration is also on notice. Diplomats are doing everything they can to get a peaceful resolution between Russia and Ukraine, but continue to fall short. One fact is clear, that Putin's war is causing a revival of old-school assassination tactics. This is after a car bomb killed the daughter of the spiritual guide to Putin's Ukraine invasion. Story number 7 of the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that have made it this week. I've got a magic trick. If I disappear, there'll be a top story, but there won't be a top 8 story. That makes me a little bit unique. That makes me feel special. That gives me the courage and the ability to stand in front of this camera and give you the top 8. If you love me, if you appreciate me, show me some love. Wave your hands, light a fire. If you don't like me, change the channel. But someday, come back. Because love, folks, is all you need in mediation. And one day you may feel bitter, but one day you may be encouraged to tune in. Even if I'm doing something that you don't like or saying something you don't like, you'll be inspired to see somebody like me in front of the camera instead of doing something that I have no business doing. Don't you feel special? Story number 7. Inflation stories are on a month's streak, folks. Weddings, groceries, gas, construction, these are all affected by inflation. The inflation stories are so bad that an inflation bill made it through Congress. Now the discussion is about if COVID-19 is to blame, or was to blame for all this. Either way, the finger pointing goes on, and the backbiting is causing some serious stories to erupt. People are getting upset. People are stealing, getting evicted, and even having to give up basic necessities when it comes to spending. Story number 8 in the top international headline and developing news story that made this week. Folks, I'm giving you a gift, a top story. Be excited. It's not much. Little old me. Only thing I have to look forward to every day is a hope and a prayer. The sun comes out and I sing a song of glorious victories that I've been able to overcome in my life. The down days where mom keeps the phone on her and she talks me out of a terrible situation. But that's why I'm here for you, to give you a top story, so you can get out of a terrible situation, learn something, and be informed. It's too good for you. It's too good. It's like vitamin A, vitamin C, all mixed in one protein drink, baby. It's going to give you a punch, a burst of excitement. Story number 8. Oh, yes. Misery must love company, but a story is greater than anything, baby. Oh, yeah. Story number 8. Why violence is not the answer. An Arizona suspect smashes a store worker's face with a brick and beat the lady until he got the register code. That's bad. Once again, folks, violence is on the radar. The violent games that we play, that are being played every day, or even after 1,000, or even they're even occurring, and they're getting in people's way. These violent stories, even after, like I said, 1,000 yeses, one no is causing a lot of problems, folks. Sorry I missed that up a little bit, but I'm smoothing it out now, because after 1,000 yeses, folks, one no. When that lady said no, she got her, she got beat up, and this is bad, folks. And this is why I've been here to report these stuff. Wars are often breaking out in countries of people trying to help, and people are trying to get these people out, and the wars keep going, and it always is the same way when there's violence and there's stuff, and it's every time it's in the mix, something like this happens. So this week, that's the top 8 story. These stories keep staying alive. Violence, people robbing, stealing, and doing it in the name of something they want, or gang. Why so many people continue to choose violence as the answer remains the top question, but the ripple effect is leaving a trail of victims behind. Young kids. This story made it because a young 6-year-old was shot in the county where I live at. And violence, such a bad, it's becoming a very, very, very bad problem across America. We're talking about mass shootings. Story number 8 is not to be forgotten. That's why I made it to the top this week. I apologize for stumbling, but when you're reporting on violence, I like to report on good news. Good news. I find good stories to tell with inspiration. But this story right here is lingering on in the air because people are choosing violence over just walking away. Sometimes peace is the best solution. Just walk away. You get to see things that you never thought you'd see before. You get to witness things that you never thought you'd witness. And on top of that, you get to live another day. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I hope you choose peace, and I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the people on the front lines, and journalists. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the media, the man in the middle. If you want to show us some support here at Method 8, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Or you can stop by the store and see my smiling face and buy something. 5648 Market Street. I'm always in there, 10 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Well, folks, that's it. I'll be back next week looking through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed if I don't get caught in the web of violence. I'm doing the best I can to stay safe out here. I hope you do the same. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator with me, Brian West. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.